You're listening to the podcast She Who Believes with your host, Vivian Bell. Great day and welcome back to the podcast She Who Believes. I'm your host, Vivian Bell, and I am indeed She Who Believes. Super excited to be back with you guys. We've had a bit of a break. Usually we try to do that around the September-October timeframe. In between all of this time, we've had 2 hurricanes here in Florida. I've had a very dear friend pass away. And it has been some time, but when I tell you that I've continued to pray for you all, thank you all for your prayers for us. I'm just excited to be back with you guys. Always trusting God's timing and everything He does, His wisdom and everything that He does. And just want to say thank you. Even throughout this time, even just like with our other podcast, The Recovery Life After Heartbreak, which I am blessed to now host with my daughter, Sierra Cherie. She is absolutely an amazing woman of God, and I'm watching her come into her own, and just she's really been a major blessing to my life, but also to the podcast. But you guys have just been continuing to just entrust us, whether you are getting new episodes or you are playing the previous episodes and catching up or listening to your favorites. We want to just thank you guys for supporting us by listening, by entrusting us to just share what has been placed in our heart, to share the things that we've gone through in our lives with the purpose and hope that it will encourage you and allow you to see the love and grace of the God that we serve. So we just want to say thank you guys in the U.S. and Germany and China and the U.K. and India, and specifically in the states of Florida, Washington, Virginia, Ohio, California, North Carolina, Texas, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, New York, Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee, and New Jersey. You guys have shown up year after year for 6 years straight consistently, and we're grateful for that. But I also want you guys to know that we are sincerely praying for you. We're praying for your families. We're praying for your government. We're praying for just everything that concerns your life. So if you have specific prayers, reach out to us. You can DM us if you're on the page, the actual page of the podcast. It used to be anchor.fm. You can still get to it there. Anchor.fm/Vivian-Bell. And there's a place where you can leave an actual voice recording and you can record your prayer requests. You can go to our website at mindingwhatmattersnow.com. And under the back to school section for parents, you can just post your prayer requests there as well. You don't have to be a parent or any of that, but you can post your prayer requests there. And then also you can comment here in Spotify under this podcast or any platform you're listening to that allows you to leave comments. Those comments do come directly to us, and we will surely pray for you. Or you can email us at info at mindingwhatmattersnow.com, and we'd be glad to pray for and with you. So today, the title of today's podcast, so this one is really this has been on my heart since before the break. The title of this podcast is The Shark. So your girl was, I was actually in my daughter's room, and she is a YouTuber. I mean, she's in her 20s. So their TV sometimes is just YouTube all day, like one portion of a video, rolling into another portion of a video. Those of us who are getting a little closer to 50 often like to see a whole show when we have the time to dedicate to watching something. I want the whole thing, right? But I was grateful I was in her room that day because it blessed me. So there was a partial episode of the Shark Tank, and I vaguely remembered actually watching this, but there I watched this man cry. He literally broke down and cried after shark, investor after investor, one after the other, demeaned him for his faith in his business. And when I tell you, it was it did something to me. It really reached into the depths of my soul, being an entrepreneur myself who stepped out on faith. Not because I wanted to, not because I was ready to give up my $80,000 a year job. I did it because God called me to. He was so strategic in it that he gave me specific dates and times when I was to resign from my job, when I was supposed to wrap other things up in my life. God literally downloaded these things and then came and confirmed them over and over again, so that there was no question about it. It was his word. It was his purpose for my life. And so there's this man, he and his wife both God had heard from, I know they heard from God, and they both ended up losing their jobs in that same time frame when they knew they felt led, as they said, to start this business. And so they stepped out on faith and they started this business, and they found themselves on Shark Tank. Now, they told this man over and over again, like how literally one told him he was stupid. Like, you should have never, ever started this business. Just because you and your wife lost your jobs, you should have never started this business. But the thing that's often forgotten when the enemy is speaking to you of what you've already achieved and where you are actually already standing. Because see, they had to have enough success to get this thing marketed and get in front of Shark Tank. They weren't just an idea that they were throwing. They were an existing business. So maybe it wasn't producing what they wanted it or needed it to in that season or in that moment. But what he was telling them they couldn't be, they already were. My God. So I'm watching, and I was so like snatched in my spirit, even though I knew this was a recording. I begun to encourage him from the other side of the screen. You see, sometimes the logical cannot understand the divine, but I knew, I literally felt in my spirit, in my soul, and I watched this man be crushed at the words of these people. And like I said, the logic can work, but we, children of God, those who have heard a word from God, those who walk by faith, we desire the divine over the logical. And that only comes when we obey God and take faith moves. I've heard people tell other people, like, this was not God, because if it was God, he would have allowed you to have this in place first, and he would have allowed you to have this in place, this, and that, and all of these things would have been smooth. I beg to differ, because faith is the things that believing the things we don't see, and we call them as they are, as even though we can't see them, right? So if I have to have everything together and everything has to be perfect before I make a move God told me to make, where's the faith? What am I really believing in? Am I now just believing in my bank account that I was able to add up? And I'm not saying you're wrong for lining things up if that's the way that it's done. But there are times when God calls people out to do a thing. Come on, I can always go back to my boy Abraham. I will always be able to go back to Abraham in every area of my life, because God called him out from among his people. He had no clue where he was going. This man packed up his wife, his servants, all of his cattle, everything he owned. He even brought his nephew Lot with him, though he was supposed to leave his family. But God allowed that because Lot taught him some lessons along the way. And Lot got blessed as well because of his association with his uncle. So not only did he call him out from there, and God continued to increase them more and more, because even after he gave Lot the best land, both of them grew so much that they couldn't even stay in the same area. So God multiplied him abundantly as he went, right? He wasn't broke when he left, but he multiplied him as he went. He obeyed him. There's a young man in our church, and he and I, God, I've been so blessed to have him and his family in my life. They have 5 amazing little warriors, spiritual men and women, or woman of God, because they have one daughter named Letty, who is absolutely amazing. All of their children are amazing. But he shared with me about how if most business owners knew how he started his business, they would have called him a fool. They probably would have talked him out of it. And even though he went through some trials and all of those things, he obeyed God, and God has kept him. And he's been in this, I think, at least 6 or 7 years now. But what happened was God told him to start his business, his detailing business. And he started it out of the trunk of his Camry. And I'm not talking about like a brand new late model Camry. He started in the old, like, beat up Camry with a bucket and a sponge and some washcloths and whatever the other tools that God sent him to buy. And he quit his job and he obeyed the Lord. And now I know to some of you that might sound real foolish, right? And there will be sharks in your life that will come to snatch the word that God gave to you. I'm here to encourage someone today who has a word from God, who you have no logical proof that this is going to work. You have no logical proof that this is going to be what God has said it's going to be. All you have is his word. Well, I'm going to tell you what God told me when I said to him about a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, because as I think about it more and more, all I can look back at, even though the times may have been difficult and hard, God is still sustaining me. I said to God, listen, all I have is your word. He said, if you have my word, it's all you need, because I am my word. And I can look back on how God has taken me through every trial, through every situation, through ups and downs in my businesses. He has sent enemies to provide for me. He has just blessed us and opened doors. He's answered prayers in ways I didn't expect him to. I thought it would look different, but he still did exactly what he has promised to do. And today I'm just here to encourage you to trust God, whether it is for your marriage, whether it's for your children, whether it is for business or ministry, or just you becoming who God has said you are. Keep believing God and keep stepping forward. I tell God all the time, listen, when I came into this, he called me to this. So this calling started years ago when my kids were young and I was still living on the south side of St. Petersburg in the hood. And the Lord said to me, you're going to be a counselor. And so I was like, well, okay, well, Lord, you're going to have to do it. I shared this with you guys, like, you're going to have to pay for it. Because listen, I'm in school right now, going to school for accounting, and on and on and on. Like, that had been my dream, to become an accountant. I fell in love with accounting in high school. It was the subject that made me feel smart, that made me feel there was nothing impossible for me to do with God. And Mrs. Stewart, God bless Mrs. Stewart, my teacher in Florida High School, she showed me favor. She spoke highly of me. She favored me. She literally favored me. She let me know I was the kid with the highest grade in her class. And when I wasn't, she let me know that as well. The couple of times that I let my grade drop in. And it wasn't like I'm disappointed in you type of thing. It was, listen, you are my A student. You are the highest grade student in my class. Like, you are the top. Like, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but talk to me. Tell me what I can help you. Is there something, what can we talk about? What can be done? Because this is who you are. And in this moment, you're not operating in that space. I'm here to tell you that you are exactly who God says you are. And even if you're not operating in that space, that I believe in you, that I'm praying for you. I promise you, if you're listening to this podcast, you've been prayed for. You will continue to be prayed for. Trust the God that we serve. Trust him. In spite of what you see. I have a friend who I know is probably listening to this. She is the one who just buried her husband this past week. He passed away in between two hurricanes hitting Florida and all of the crazy things. And I have been blessed to watch this woman who believes God worship and praise God, even in her loss, in worship service, at the funeral, just in so many ways. I mean, she is indeed she who believes, because God made her a promise within her marriage that has yet to materialize. But yet she and I both still believe God to do that thing. He made her that promise, and I declare that it is already done. When I tell you, you might be listening and you might think, Lord, I'm tired. Lord, I don't know. Lord, you said, and I'm going to believe you one more day. Honey, just all you need is one more day. Believe him today. And when tomorrow comes, that's today again. So believe him today. And believe him and move like you believe him. Move your feet like you believe him. Jump and worship while you are standing in front of the casket of your husband who died so young. Believe him. When that child is acting like they don't have an ounce or a nickel of sense in their head, believe him. When he said that they are prophets and that they will minister to the people of this world and that they will draw people unto him, believe God, because he is faithful. I don't care what the shark has said. That shark swims in water, but honey, you serve the God that walks on water. And he has given you power and authority to do the same. So no matter what's coming at you, trying to eat you alive in this season of your life, trust God. Believe his word. Stand on his word. And refuse to be moved. Make faith moves. So when I was preparing for this podcast some months ago, the words that God said to me was this. I put them here on the planner. I refused to move them week after week. I just kept moving it forward as I reviewed the plans. And I make a spreadsheet every week that lists every single thing that my hands touch, or that God has given me dominion over, that he has given me the opportunity, or what do I want to say? He's given me territory in every area. And I sit with him and I go over these things and I have them and I reflect on them and I say, hey, this is the projects we're finishing this week and all of those things, right? But there are times when God is speaking to me when we're planning this and when we're planning out the podcast. And so here's what he said to me. And I believe I'm supposed to share this with you today. I pray that you'll receive it as your personal word from God and that you will live by it, trusting it. What he said to me was this: trust that I will not fail you in this matter either. In this matter, whatever your this matter is, he will not fail you in this matter either, because he's not failed you in the past. He's not going to fail in this either. He went on to say, let me heal your heart so that you may have total peace. I'm praying total peace for you. And I'm praying unshakable, unmoving, unwithering, unshrinking faith over you as well. Well, you've listened to the podcast, She Who Believes. I'm your host, Vivian Bell, and I am indeed She Who Believes. And I look forward to being with you guys next Thursday. God bless you. You are listening to the podcast, She Who Believes. Thank you for joining us today. May your faith be counted unto you as righteousness.